Welcome to Universal News TV, your bilingual news channel, in English and French. Only 515,524 votes separate the outgoing president, re-elected for a second term, and the leader of the opposition denounces fraudulent results. After the protest brought by his party on Wednesday, the opposition candidate for the presidential election in Ghana, John Mahama, estimated Thursday evening that the results proclaimed by the Electoral Commission giving the victory to outgoing President Nana Akufo Addo were fraudulent. But how can we better understand this tension that is mounting between Nana Akufo Addo and John Mahama? So let's listen to our analysts who are on the set. Let's listen.
One of the subtopics we have for today, we're going to talk about what is making news in Ghana. We should take note that they had their presidential elections on the 7th of December and the results were given on the 10th of December. The two main parties were the NDC of John Dramani Mahama. We should take note that he was the president of Ghana in 2011 to 2016, and then now he was running again against Nana Akufo Addo, who was elected in 2016. So the incumbent president, Nana Akufo Addo, won the elections as per the NEC, that is the Electoral Commission in the country, and the results were announced on the 10th. So after this, John Dramani Mahama came out to say there were some irregularities in the elections, and this has caused a little protest in the country, particularly in the remote areas. Even though he also said he's going to be taking it to court, he does not want anybody to die because of this. But in the remote areas, we saw some horrible videos. People are already being killed. Police is trying to push back the protesters, and there's a lot of fighting between the two parties. So this is Ghana has not had this kind of history since after Jerry Rawlings, and so most people are looking up to a country like Ghana for electoral processes and the way things work there. And we are surprised after elections when the results were out, the results were announced. Most people praised the way the elections went through. Even all the observers said everything was peaceful and well. And just 2 days later, we're having sad news from out there. So our panelists in the studio are going to just talk about it after we watch the report. So let me present to you my panel, those who are in the studio with me, and then I'm going to throw more light on this topic. We have Dr. Ndingwanya. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to a joyous Christmas and a happy New Year, so we hope it's going to be okay.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. We have Mr. Michael Dimancho. It's been a while.
It's really been a while.
Yeah, we're glad having you back.
A while with you, but not with the other
Definitely.
So I'm happy to be here with you again. I said, as we discussed, I have other issues to do, but I said I shouldn't say no to you again. So because it has always been a pleasure. We started these things together.
Definitely.
And of course, we have to continue, and we hope that Africa becomes a better place.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. We have Sheikh Mohammed. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, madam. It's always a pleasure to be here, especially on such a topic, talking about free trade in Africa. It's something one should really, it's an honor to put one word or two into the issue.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Tegeng Fominkom. Good afternoon. You're welcome to the program.
Hello, Emanuela. It's a pleasure to be with for this topic, because that's really talking about unity. My main thing about Africa, but just allow me to say also buenas tardes a nuestros amigos de Guinée équatoriale. Bonsoir Didier Ntueke, un grand ami qui nous regarde à chaque moment. Bonsoir.
Thank you very much. We're also going to have Dr. Eric Ndi on Zoom from Ivory Coast, so the technicians are going to fix that, and probably in the course of the program we're going to have him. So these are the people with me in the studio for the program today. The numbers are going to be on the screen. If you want to contribute, you're free to do so. There will be time that the technicians will open the lines for callers to call, and also those who are watching us on Facebook, Twitter, just go ahead. We are on live on these social media outlets. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start this program by watching this report by Rita Moto on Ghana and how the elections went through till the stakes of the elections till the results were given out. We'll be right back after that.
President Nana Akufo Addo of the new Patriotic Party, the NPP, has emerged victorious in the December 7th elections. The 76-year-old secured a second term with 51.59% of votes in the keenly contested poll against his main rival John Mahama of the National Democratic Congress (NDC), who won 47.4%. Seen as a solid democracy in an unstable region where election disputes this year have prompted fears of a democratic backslide, Ghana's elections were highly commended by observers. The West African nation demarcated herself again by holding peaceful elections without records of burnt houses, violence, nor irregularities that often characterize elections in Africa. Free of pressing concerns about security or ethnic unrest, President Akufo Addo is focusing on ending economic crisis in West Africa's second-largest economy. In his first term, the incumbent was criticized for having 125 ministers and deputy ministers at his disposal to run a relatively small country of 30 million people. The ministers almost doubled the 67 number of ventilators available in Ghana's public hospitals when the coronavirus pandemic hit the country. His government was also plagued by corruption scandals, which placed his re-election on a balance despite his combating efforts put in place, like abolishing fees for senior secondary schools, providing free water and electricity in 2020, and implementing many more populist programs. Ghana's newly elected President Akufo Addo will be under pressure to curb government spending that has pushed the debt to GDP ratio past 70% and prompted warnings from the International Monetary Fund. He equally promises to continue the process of reversing the effect that COVID-19 has had on the economy and put the nation on course for a full economic recovery and development. It should be noted that 2020 elections mark 4 successive times that the NDC and MPP have each won elections since 1992, when Ghana returned to multi-party democracy, thus causing pundits to question if eligible leaders only pertain to the NPP and NDC parties.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita Moto, for that report. So I'm going to begin with you, Dr. Nick. You heard the report, and it gave a little bit the stakes of the reign of the leader, the incumbent leader, and President-elect Akufo Addo. One thing that marked his presidency when he got into power was that he put 125 ministers, and so his government was termed by newspapers the elephant government. That's the biggest Ghana has ever had, and that's one of the things that, since the country is having a lot of debt, people are accusing that because when you put so many ministers, you need to take care of them, and they need to work, and so the budget needs to go up.
Yes, I must say that he's one of the presidents in Africa that I respect a lot. That's the Nana Akufo of Ghana, and the president of Rwanda, as well as the president of Tanzania, because they seem to know what to do with their countries. But I was not aware of this detail about Ghana. In fact, it makes me ashamed. I'm sorry about it, but I mean, what on earth are we doing 125 ministers? You know, the 25 that he has 100 more ministers than he needs. 25 is okay. So something is seriously wrong somewhere, but he should correct it.
Okay, so the elections just ended and he won. He won the elections by 51%. 17 million. Ghana has about 30 million people. 17 million registered to vote. 30 million voted.
Oh, that's great.
And so the results were given, and they said he won 51% against the former president, John Dramani. So what do you think about the elections now? What is making news that just happened after we spoke on it on Views is that they said they're post-electoral crisis, but John Dramani says he does not want anybody to die on the streets. He's going to take it to court.
There is a wise man in Ghana, a man of God in Ghana. It's called it's Bishop Duncan Nicholas. He's a huge man like that. He's always dressed in a big shirt and baggy trousers, and he speaks a lot of sense and wisdom. And he had some wisdom for Africa. What Africa needs is not all these elections. You know, like Nana Akufo has 125 ministers. Actually, these 125 ministers would have been people from all over Ghana, chosen from all those parties, you know, and they say, we come together. Nana, you can be there for donkey years, but this is what we must do for our nation. And they work on that. Because like Bishop Nicholas was saying, what happens in Africa is that people are more concerned about taking the power and being there and grabbing the treasury for themselves or something like that, and then putting their family and this ethnicity thing and whatever. So people see the government as the milking cow, and everybody wants to put their family, you know, on a nipple of the cow or something. And so it doesn't matter whether Nana Akufo is doing well. Yes, the other person would not want to see it because he's not really interested in whether you're doing well or not. He just wants the breast milk. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So if that is the case, we have to shift things and redefine things and say, look, stay with your elections. Let us look for another way that works. I think if we went like that, Africa would do well, because we will keep seeing people fighting. If you ask them why are they fighting, you will never get a clear answer. But it's just anger, because there are some people on this side who thought their turn had come to the table to eat, and they cannot have food, in quotes, and then the fighting starts. It doesn't matter what you are saying, they're not rational. You get what I'm saying? Okay. So there's a problem there. There's a problem there. We need to fix it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michael Dumancho, looking at the situation, we have a former president against the incumbent president. Did you really think Akufo would win, or is that in Africa the incumbent always wins?
One thing I love about Ghana is that they are free to express their political opinions. And nobody, unlike in other countries where when you have a different opinion, you are kind of looked upon as a threat or whatsoever, because having a former president opposing the incumbent is something that you don't see in most African countries. Because
mostly in Central Africa, they don't even leave power.
Exactly.
So not to talk of comeback.
So because we have what we call godsons and whatsoever, when you're leaving power, is somebody of yours that comes up, and you cannot dare oppose somebody that you have put there as a but I think Nana Akufo is one of those presidents in Ghana with a lot of few polemics when he came up to power. But I think he was doing that for good. Okay. Sometimes when we hear about 125 ministers, I tend to ask, it's not just the number that is actually making me feel that it was not actually important, or but I think we should look at what each minister comprises of, like in terms of budget allocation, and in terms of what each minister is supposed to take home as a package in working with Ghana. I was watching the Vice Minister of Education of Ghana, and this is a young man who has been so prosperous in the United States of America. And he was narrating his story, how he came back to Ghana. He said Nana Akufo came up to the United States of America and met him, and he's running a big complex, a school. And then he was told, Nana Akufo was told that it is a Ghanaian who is running this kind of a complex, in the US. And Nana Akufo booked to see him. And when they met, Nana Akufo told him, I want you home to be able to put what you are putting in America back in Ghana. And the next academic year, he was back in Ghana. And he was appointed the Vice Minister of Education. And this is somebody who came to give. He didn't come to take. So I'm looking at it in that perspective, where maybe those people that he has put together are those he has seen that are coming to give to Ghana, rather than taking like we see in other African countries, where when you see ministers, you just feel big cars and all the budget and all.
And one thing in his reign, so he actually cut. You're talking about education, and he cut out schools. He removed the money. That's no tuition fees for secondary school.
Exactly.
So he really gets back to the
education. You already see what this entails. And secondly, this is one of the rare English-speaking countries where they adopted the Francophonie as a partner. You know, the Francophonie is mostly in the French African-speaking countries. But Ghana actually brought in the Francophonie, and I thought, and I'm sure we discussed that one time on African Media, and I said, Nana Akufo is looking at the advantage that the children or the youth in Ghana can have, and this is like a pelican, and I've always described that this is one of those rare presidents who won himself to feed, the Ghanaian people. He has been doing his best, and I think when we talk about democracy in Africa, at least we are thinking about Ghana as one of those leading democracies in Africa. So I think every president would have criticism. That is true, but you can never lack. And this should go a long way to strengthen Ghana. And I think that what is happening in Ghana now with the skirmishes and whatsoever, it should be as a punctuation, and for Akufo to see his loopholes, the lapses that he went through during his last mandate, and should be able to correct that for the good of the Ghanaians.
Definitely. Are you worried about what is going to happen in the next coming days, even though John Dramani Mahama says he's going to take it to court, not on the street?
No, I think I'm not worried, because Ghanaians are not these fools. Ghanaians, they put their country first rather than individual. And I know Ghanaian politicians, their ambitions are not above the blood of Ghanaians. I know that they're going to preserve blood rather than their ambition. They will not put their ambition ahead of it all. I know that in the coming days, things are going to be fine for Ghana. I'm very, very hopeful.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you very much. Sheikh, what is your take on what's happening in Ghana and how so far it has gone? Because the results have already been given. They did the election on the 7th and the results were out on the 10th. That's something we hardly have in the central part of Africa. Results always after probably 3 months, and that's why people always say that they rigged the elections.
Ghana is one of those countries which actually makes an African proud. I remember seeing a picture of 3 former heads of state in a football match, sitting side by side, watching the football match. But that is something which I don't know any other African country where you can see such a thing. Usually if you manage to, if you're removed from power, the next thing is you get out of the country, you want to stay alive. So, so if you can have a situation where you have former heads of state all together, it's a very good idea. Now, the worrying thing is perhaps the victory of 51% is not wide enough, so there can be some hope that maybe making 1 or 2 adjustments, some things can change. But we should also realize this president, just like the doctor said, the president of Ghana, president of Tanzania, Rwanda, they are real examples. The image I have of him is this president who took the basket in the church and was collecting the alms, you know, from the. That it shows humility. It shows it doesn't look like the image of someone who's striving for power, who's crazy with power or something like that. Now that said, we have to understand that Ghana has not actually toed the line as far as the International Monetary organizations are concerned. They would have liked Ghana to come in and take loans with exorbitant interest rates and become economic slaves. Now Ghana tried to stay a course different from that. So initially they tried to destabilize Ghana by bringing up the story of Togoland. Because initially Ghana and Togo were one thing governed by the Germans. And you had a similar thing like Cameroon happened when the Germans lost the war. They now divided the territory into Togo, controlled by the French, and Ghana controlled by the British. And they tried to use that nostalgia of the former Togoland, that it will be the new El Dorado, when if you can create Togoland again as in the past, all problems will go away. But it was actually a way to destabilize Ghana. Now, apparently it didn't work. So now the elections might be a good tool. Which, those who are looking for trouble, they can easily get to that. And I can see, when I look at the violence and everything, I don't think about political ideology. I don't think about, I think about the misuse of modern technology. Nowadays, you have certain things which can be sprayed into the air, and it gets further into your brain, and by sending electromagnetic waves, they can agitate the population or render them docile. Nowadays, you have products which can be put even in the drinking water, circulating in the population, and change the emotional level, either by exciting them to violence or bringing them. This particular one was on since 1920. It was used by the Soviet regime in a prison in Siberia, which later on was extended to the whole of Russia when they were refusing communism. And you have many other techniques which can be used in order to manipulate the population. And the only solution to that, since we don't have the tools to be able to detect some of these things, is to insist to have a very high spiritual level, so as to be able to bring someone low enough to turn on the animal instincts would take a lot of effort. And that is the only advice I can give the Ghanaians. They should make a lot of effort to raise their spiritual vibration, and that can be done by trying to empty the mind, going into meditation, which can be called in other circles prayer, or can be called different things by different denominations, but basically it comes out to the same thing. They should do that as much as possible. They should also understand that the general problem in Africa is that we tend to focalize on negative things rather than positive ones. Whenever you see Africans together, you have 22 heads of state who have been killed in Africa because they tried to save their people from economic slavery or something. But look at, Africa never mentioned that. When you ask them anything, it's always negative things about their leaders. So we should change and think positive, because it is what is inside us which ends up being manifested outside. In other words, if we vibrate inside pessimism, violence, negativity, that's what is going to come out. So I think in this particular situation, the Ghanaians should raise their spiritual level as much as possible and think about positive issues, good outcomes. Considering the 125 ministers, it doesn't matter. It's all a question of names. If you consider the total number of people working as civil servants in all the ministries, you have perhaps 25 ministers and some other people in the high-ranking officials. You can just change the nomenclature and call some of those other high-ranking officers other ministers. It all depends. Does it mean that he has a bigger budget than others who have 25 ministers? That's again an issue which we don't know. So maybe by calling somebody a minister, I make him to work better, or actually put himself out. Yes.
Yeah. That could be one, because there's some people the names really
right.
boost.
Right.
Boost
So
them to work.
Right. So it could be that strategy he had, and we shouldn't criticize him immediately because he went out of the status quo, or the norm, which is usually followed. In Africa, we should follow our own way, and not try to copy the Western. If you look at Western countries, where you have a very great variety of ethnicity, like Czechoslovakia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and all those places. They tried democracy there and it failed, the same way like in Africa. There was violence, war, and everything. So we should try, not look at the Western model as the model of the example. No, try and look at our own way, which can make a system which people are happy with, and which can actually bring Africa to go forward.
And when we look at the killings, it's not in the big towns, it's the remote areas where people are really protesting. And I have very horrible videos that were sent to me from Ghana by one of our colleagues, journalists there, telling us what is happening since yesterday. It's a sad situation. We're hoping that things get better. Mr. Tegen, to you, what is the solution to Ghana as the opposition leader? He said he's going to take it to court, and he has called on people to get calm. But we discovered that those in the remote areas, it's like that calmness does not mean anything to them.
Yeah, for me, Emmanuel, I'm really surprised really of this, because really I keep on, we'll keep on saying also, Ghana is really a country of, that we need to admire in the whole Africa for democracy. But having said that, as Sheikh just said, we just have to be careful of one thing. When things are going very good, you know, the dark spirituals, they don't keep quiet. You see, we have to understand. I just hope that in Ghana, the virus of the United States, you know, like catching them, because until very recently, everybody thought that the example of democracy in the world, but what happened, people, is really surprising. So I may also touch a bit in what Sheikh just said about how there are so many ways today to influence even the minds of people. But still, I will say Ghana remains that example of democracy in the world. And from the African media, we know that the millions of televiewers listen to us. We're just going to warn them to be careful, not to let themselves, because you can see even this impact coming from abroad, from the predators, as you just explained also, you know, from the our past Western colonizers and all this. So Ghana needs to be careful. But one thing I'd like to say about this, because concerning Mr. Nana Akufo, is that this is a great man. And I saw a man of great courage at one occasion, when that man stood and back with so much courage, encouraging and even calling the African, the Francophones, CFA leaders to stand and say to France, this is enough. He didn't take 4 ways to say that. He was very courageous in how he put it out. And I really saw that Pan-Africanist in him. And I think that having said and seen all this, I think that Ghanaians need to go deep in the investigations, and I think that Ghanaians are an example for all Africa. I'm glad that until now we haven't heard about the shedding of blood, because definitely Ghanaians look at more the vision, what they want to come out with. The issue of the number, 125 really for me is not a problem. It's not really an issue. Because you can call ministers, like in the Western world they call, while this minister can represent like directors, they can be like representative of directors of this project or that project, and as our panelists just explained, it can be like the case of that vice minister of education. But if you keep in our mentality the view the Western world look at the ministers, it becomes a problem, as they see it as a problem. We should learn to look at our own things in the way how to settle problems, because having a country, even the United States, they haven't succeeded in that. You know, the amount of people that came out for voting, for 17 million people, having 13 million interested and coming out to vote. This
That's
is really
something we need to work on in
Yeah.
Central Africa. People coming out to vote. People are not even interested anymore.
People are not interested anymore.
People are not
We just have
interested in
regionals. I'm from Cameroon anyway. I've got to say it in African media. I'm from Cameroon, and we just had regionals in Cameroon. It's almost like nothing was happening. You know, people have lost interest. We need to build interest. If not, it's a game, and a game that is costing a lot. to the budget, to the funds of the country, where the country is spending money that is useless. We need to have these things really not to please the outside, because the outside, all what is they want to have is the jungle. They want to make the best of division and get out from you, what they can get as resources. So
Thank
I really
you very
think that
much.
Ghana is
a good country. Okay, indicating to me we have Dr. Ndi. Dr. Eric, good afternoon to you. You're welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me from this other side of the beautiful continent that we all love, but unfortunately, for some reason, from far away from where we are. But we appreciate your invitation. Greetings to my other fellow panelists, and wonderful work to all of you.
Okay, can you just throw in a word on what is happening in Ghana? Did you follow the elections, and what do you think about the results, the incumbent president, and what the opposition party, or the leader of the opposition party, John Dramani Mahama, has said about the elections? Because to him, he thinks it was not free and fair.
Well, how can't we follow the elections in Ghana for somebody from Cote d'Ivoire, even though I do live in the United States? You know that the elections in these two leading countries in West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, next door, took place within a few weeks of each other. And when we do also understand that electoral crisis or post-election violence can also lead to destabilization of the West African region, we therefore have to follow what happened in Ghana, especially also that Ghana, since 1992, has provided a leadway for the West African region when it comes to election. So yes, we did follow what happened. Now, when we look at the outcomes of this election, for somebody like me from Cote d'Ivoire, we wanted to have a little bit of upset the stomach and be fearful of the ways in which things will go. However, we remain, and I do remain personally faithful that the channel that former President and opponent candidate John Mahama is following by calling on the court, challenging the outcome of this election to court, is the rightful way to go. And the other thing that I also do appreciate regarding his comment speech is when he said that, nobody or no blood need to be shed for this election, meaning that, when no Ghanaian have to die, the same way we continue to believe that, in all of the African countries, people should not be dying for election. Yesterday, I was invited to speak at a conference of the Institute of African Development here in the United States at Cornell University. And the topic of that speech was peaceful impediments and prospects and impediments to peaceful democratic transitions in Africa, especially Ghana, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea. And one of the questions that I asked was this, that, can we have a democratic transition that is not peaceful? As soon as a democratic transition or so-called democratic transition is not peaceful, meaning that, where so many people may have lost their life or that during the process of the election, from that time on, there is no democracy, because as we understand it, as Africans, first of all, with the theme, the topic, the hopes with which we started this whole movement of multipartyism, and I mean from the African standpoint, it was because we wanted to have not just a free and fair election, but also elections that are appeased, elections that will guarantee the sacrosanct value of human life. So looking at what is happening in Ghana, we are hopeful that the varying party will take that and follow the appropriate channel in court and mitigate the impact in the street with the number of people that die. Last thing I want to say very quickly in there, John Mahama Dramani has ruled Ghana before, and we saw his leadership as well. The same way we also saw the leadership of President Nana Akufo Addo. I do not believe that, John Mahama Dramani would love to put himself at the NDC. He's a political party, which is also the political party of a former President Jerry Rawlings. With this culture, therefore, I do not believe that, they want to have a legacy of the party that will shatter down the beautiful heritage that Ghana has been building for the rest of Africa, for the rest of West Africa, when it comes to democratic, peaceful transition.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Eric. So,
according to the Electoral Commission, on Wednesday, the head of state, leader of the new Patriotic Party, NPP, obtained 51.59% of the vote against 47.36% for the opposition candidate of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, John Mahama. Here, Maria Robin, for Universal News TV. Thank you for following us on YouTube, and if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so that you will not miss our next videos.